Hey everybody, Ketwalski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek discussions videos. Today we're going to be covering a few news stories that popped up over the last couple of weeks in regards to the future of Star Trek. However, before we get to those news stories, I do want to let you guys and gals know, fans of the channel, that I have two videos coming down the pipe that will hopefully be released within the next week or two. The first one is going to be my top 5 things that I loved about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, and the bottom 5 things that I hated about Star Trek Discovery Season 2. It's taken me a little bit longer to put this list together because there are so many things I could put in either column, and I really wanted to narrow it down to the real top and bottom 5s. That's what I really wanted to do, and provide my justification as to why I think they deserve that spot. So that video will be released whenever I'm done editing it. The next video that I'm going to be doing is the Michael Burnham Mary Sue video. It's going to be another mini doc where I'm going to go through the history of Mary Sue's and talk about what that means from back in the day to now, and if Michael is one of those things, and really try to break that down to get that conversation flowing here on the channel. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion with you guys and gals. Okay, so the very first news story that we are going to be covering is from CBS Television Studios launching a brand new global franchise group that is specifically dedicated to the expansion of the Star Trek franchise. Now, this branding group is going to be headed up by Veronica Hart and working in conjunction with Alex Kurtzman and all of the other Star Trek top brass in an effort to try to expand Star Trek to not only an international audience as much as possible, but across multiple different platforms. The article was quoted in saying, "The unit's goal is to invigorate and broaden the Star Trek fan community through additional branding opportunities such as podcasts, a reinvigorated StarTrek.com, new digital spaces, consumer products and gaming, as well as live experimental events and global attractions." Now, I think that this is a pretty smart move on CBS. Relying entirely on the television shows that they're trying to pump out now, I guess, every year behind a paywall on CBS All Access is not a good way to ensure the survivability of the Star Trek franchise in the year 2019, 2020, and into the future. I think the idea of expanding the brand out to other fronts is a great way to kind of make more money, but also reinvigorate the public's interest in Star Trek as a whole. We are in desperate need of new Star Trek video games, of new Star Trek books, new Star Trek comics, all types of different things, new Star Trek merchandise, new Star Trek toys. All of these things I think are not being up to par with where it could be for Star Trek and what the franchise really deserves after 50 years plus of being around. I think the franchise deserves more, and it looks as though they're trying to give it that. So this is really great news. I'm really excited about this. I think this is going to be something worth our attention, worthwhile. I think that there is a potential risk of pumping out too much too quickly, which reduces the quality of the content that we would be consuming across any of those platforms, but we'll wait to see what happens and how all of this kind of unfolds. It'd be interesting to see if we get some hits or misses, or mostly hits, so we'll wait to see what happens here, but this is really exciting news for the future of Star Trek. Kind of in conjunction with that story, there was also an interview done with CBS interim CEO Joe Ianiello, who talked up the continued growth of CBS All Access, the home of Star Trek, and saying that the first quarter of the year saw a jump of 71% in subscriptions. He has referenced this as both helpful from Star Trek Discovery, The Good Fight in March, the Super Bowl, March Madness, and The Twilight Zone as well. He also stated that earlier this year, CBS did in fact pass their goal of 8 million subscribers split between both All Access and Showtime, but he did not share any facts or figures on that, so there's no way to independently confirm that, but this is from the CEO, so he could be trying to give us fluff numbers, or he could be telling us the truth. It's unclear at this particular point. What was also interesting in this particular interview is he says, quote, "We will launch a new Star Trek series starring Sir Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard," which most of us know, "which will have strong international appeal." Now, this is very interesting because as of right now, as far as we all know, there is no international distribution agreement for Star Trek Picard through Netflix. Netflix did the international distribution for Star Trek Discovery. I think that they did CBS All Access in Canada for Star Trek Discovery for Season 2, but I'm not sure, so you guys confirm that for me down below in the comments. So this is interesting. So either CBS is intending on expanding itself out and trying to reach all of the audiences directly through CBS All Access, or a new agreement is going to be reached with Netflix or another third-party streaming service. But there's nothing on the books yet, but this is definitely a strong indication that CBS intends on making sure that Star Trek Picard is available, legally available, throughout the globe and not just in the US and Canada. And the final story that I want to talk to you guys about deals with Anson Mount and Ethan G. Peck. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Anson Mount was doing an interview with the Calgary Herald, and they asked him about the possibility and his desire to return as Captain Christopher Pike in a Star Trek spin-off series. And he said, quote, "It checks all the boxes. It's a character I love, it's a franchise I love, it's an experience that I have already loved. Obviously, any opportunity to go back and play with that incredible team, led by executive producer and co-creator Alex Kurtzman, and all of those incredible artisans from costumes to makeup to art to props, everybody in that crew is operating at the top of their game." Now, this is exciting news. There was some news reports after the end of towards the end of Star Trek Discovery Season 2 that Anson Mount wasn't really interested in returning to the captain's chair as Pike. And I think that did have potentially to do with salary. I think that his positive reaction to this question by the Calgary Herald indicates that they might actually be doing some behind-the-scenes deal-making and talks with Anson Mount, to try to get him to come back. And his positive reaction makes it seem as though they might be nearing possibly a deal. But I'm purely speculating on that. I have no other information beyond this article. But it is a shift in his response and tone towards the concept of returning. I know he reached out to everybody who did that whole fan petition thing, which has thousands and thousands of signatures on it, which you haven't already signed, please go do so. I know he reached out to that and expressed a heartfelt, emotional response to that and how much he loved that. So I think he's kind of softening up to the idea, and I think CBS might be softening up the idea of paying Anson some more money so that he could kind of lead the show with Rebecca Romijn and Ethan Peck. Now that gets me to the Ethan Peck interview that he did a couple of weeks ago. During an interview with TrekMovie.com, Ethan Peck was said, quote, "I would love to come back because being a part of Star Trek is like magic. It's funny. I think Star Trek is so divisive amongst people in the world that are like, never seen it, not interested, and those that do see it are very attached and find themselves very connected with it. To be a part of something like that is just really special. Now I feel like I've done a lot of groundwork as Spock, and it's very much a part of me. I'm the same but different having finished it. So would I like to continue? Yeah, I think that would be great." So this is also really great news. So both of these actors, who were kind of the chief guys behind the whole TOS kind of, I guess you could say, cameos. I don't know if that's the right word to use, because they were the heavily featured throughout Season 2, Pike and Spock. Rebecca Romijn is number 1. She definitely had some roles going on, especially towards the end of the season finale, but she didn't really do much during the season, so it's unclear if that is a possibility for her, or if fans really want her to come back, or if they're okay with somebody else doing it. But these are the two main actors that were involved in Season 2, and those are the two that I think people were most excited to see return if they were to do a Pike spin-off series. And both actors seem very much interested in the possibility of doing that. So this is really great news all around. I think all of this news is really great, very positive. It's showing that as much as Star Trek Discovery is divisive to the fans, and in terms of quality, it can both ebb and flow, especially for me. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I really hate it. I think that the show itself is performing to a level that is allowing CBS some flexibility and some creative flexibility, I should say, not just financial flexibility, to go ahead and branch out and do other things. I still believe that the Section 31 show, if we get a Pike show, I think the Section 31 show will probably get broken apart and shoved into that, and that'll be a whole thing with like Pike and Tyler and kind of doing things like that, because they had such a weird kind of connection during Discovery Season 2, and now that, as far as we can tell, they're going to be kind of doing their own thing in Section 31 still inside of the Star Trek universe. So I think it's possible that will happen. That's just a gut feeling. I don't have any insider sources or any kind of rumors in regards to that, but that's just my gut. But overall, I think this is all really great news. Anyways, guys and gals, that wraps up the news stories for today. Now, I do want to hear what all of you guys think about this. Do you think that we're going to get a Pike spin-off show, especially now that Anson Mount and Ethan Peck have both expressed an interest and a desire to actually return to it? What do you think about the brand new Star Trek brand global franchising group? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think they're going to rush things too quickly and possibly damage the franchise even more than some people feel it already is? What do you guys and gals think about this? I'm curious to hear what all of you think, so throw those comments down below and let's get the conversation started. Anyways, guys and gals, that wraps up today's video, and I will catch all of you all next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies.